Welcome to the Good Rookies podcast. My name is Faheem.
And my name is Nelly J, y'all. And we are Good Rookies.
That's right.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Good Tuesday. And guess what? It's episode 68.
68.
6 and 8, y'all. Like,
Yep.
we are so blessed. I feel like every episode of the 16th Faheem has been straight fire. And y'all, this episode will be no different. Faheem, please introduce who we got.
All right. So it's about that time where we get into letting people know about someone who's got something big coming up, already doing big things. And when we get to the For the Culture segment, we can actually double down on it. He's someone who has many different layers, I guess, like in regards to his sports. He covers all types of sports, all types of media. He's got it all. So this is going to be a good one. Let's welcome Kevin Pryor to the podcast today.
Kevin.
Thank you, guys.
Kevin.
Enough love.
Yeah,
Faheem, Janelle, this is a pleasure. Thank you, guys. It's really fun to kind of rock with you guys tonight. I'm really excited about this.
Nice.
Well, we're happy. Listen, first of all, we are so honored to have you in the podcast today because you are like guys. We'll get into more of what Kevin Pryor does, but this man is literally syndicated everywhere, and so we're just so happy you took the time to kick it with us for a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, before we get into the episode, though, I have to ask you a question because you're from New York, Alicia Keys, right? And, you know, New York is always considered the mecca of basketball, but what have y'all won a championship in the NBA or I don't know, right? So my question is this, right? Should we still call New York the mecca of basketball? And if we should, why?
Well, you know, New York got that moniker because of the street ball. I mean, you go back to Rucker Park and all the street games and, you know, Earl the Goat Manigault and Dr. J. So it has the cachet because for many years, D1 schools would pluck into New York and get players. There used to be a thing called the Underground Railroad at Marquette that the late, great Al McGuire, you know, pretty much brought in New York guys. And even the movie Glory Road with the Texas Western, which became Texas El Paso, those guys came from New York. So that's where a lot of that really comes from, the backdrop. Now, from a professional level, somewhere along the line, we lost our way. You know, and again, I'm a man of a certain age, and I have not witnessed a championship in New York, and I ain't 21. So, I mean, I think from a pro level, it's gotten a little bit off. And I even think if you think about just the way the athletes are now being developed, the high school kids are going to prep school. They're playing a lot of AAU. So they're not necessarily staying, you know, in New York. Like, you know, the kid from Orlando, he's from New York. And he had to went to prep school. So again, it's a very good question, Janelle. I mean, I like to say it is because I love New York. This is my town, but I think, you know, there's kind of other places are starting to really, you know, catch up to New York when it comes to generating talent, you know, that leads into college into the NBA.
Well, that's really interesting because I still think New York does have a lot of talent, and maybe because basketball is a huge sport in the city of New York and the population, I totally get it. I mean, who would you say is the last big New Yorker basketball player that the NBA has or is in professional right now? Like, who would you call right now the top New York basketball player, whether it's college or NBA?
That's playing right now?
Yeah, playing right now.
Wow.
So I'll give you one. I know Carmelo-Anthony was born in New York, so he's someone you can name.
Right, but Melo really got groomed in Baltimore. Even though I know he was born in New York. I you know, no knock to Melo, salute. But you know, he's a child of the Queen City. When I think of like the last great NBA superstar that was really groomed in New York, you got to go back a little bit. I mean, you know, I wouldn't call Ron Artest a great superstar, but he was somebody who had a presence. Obviously, Kemba Walker, who's now been relegated out of the rotation. Stephon Marbury had a nice little run at one point. It's been a while. I mean, again, it used to be a situation where New York, you would get that great talent. I mean, if you know, could we claim Michael Jordan born in Brooklyn? We probably can't either. But it's kind of like, you know, basketball is a global sport. You guys are in Canada. There's a lot of Canadians in the NBA. That game is flourishing in your country. It's just that, you know, it's not, you can't relegate to New York anymore. Europe and you know, it's a global game. And you know, once you get more opportunities for more players, you know, you're gonna, you know, reach out to different areas. And you know, it's there used to be a thing called a New York point guard. We think about like the Kenny Smiths and the Skips, you know, Ray Austins. It was a New York point guard. That situation now, you know, that style and swag that those guys develop can now be seen anywhere. So it's really just about athletic talent. And you know, the NBA with technology, they're going out and getting guys from all over the globe, not just, you know, the States and, you know, Canada.
Yeah.
One thing that could be said about New York in regards to its placement, that's not changing though. I mean,
right.
You know, they call it the mecca for the reason. Like, I think of the only thing is, so with New York, it's always been the Knicks. And now coming from Jersey, now Brooklyn's fighting. So you have a nice little rivalry there. I was actually more shocked that KD and Kyrie chose Brooklyn over going to the Knicks, the option that was actually there on the table, right? So, but yeah, like you made a very good point. That New York point guard, when you're mentioning names, I think of like Kenny Anderson back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're right. That New York point guard, you know, everything's, the internet kind of opened everything, you know what I'm saying? And what used to be kind of special to New York is now, as you mentioned perfectly, it is global. But with placement, New York, I still think is going to be at the top of the food chain just because of the fact that, like you mentioned, Rucker Park, the history, it's very hard.
Lineage,
that lineage, it's hard to move it. So,
but you know what? The older you get away from it, like when you talk about KD, right? And I know he had an interview when he first went to Brooklyn. He said, "Well, you know, my generation doesn't look at the Knicks the same way because if you're a certain age, you really haven't seen great Knicks basketball. I mean, like I said, it's you got to go a long way back. You got to go John Starks and Anthony Mason and Oakley days, to kind of get that type of, you know, top of the food chain, you know, fighting for championships. So, but I do believe that here in New York, when you think about the Nets, no knock to Net fans, whoever they're out there, but this is a New York, it's a Knick town. It's similar to the Giants, and the only sports team that's ever come close to competing is probably the Mets to the Yankees. So again, you know, while you got the Nets with two of the top 5 players in the league, you know, KD, James Harden, when it comes to New York, they get no love on the back page. They get no love on all this media out here. They really don't. And that's not a knock to the Nets. The Nets started in Long Island years ago with Dr. J and went to Jersey. And so the Nets have kind of been that you know, that Siberia team. And it's almost like you can play in New York and get all the glamours of New York, but not have the scope. And that's what, you know, you're seeing with KD and, you know, obviously Kyrie's not there and James Harden. They're playing in the biggest city in the world. They can do things off the court. James can hit all the strip clubs he wants, but they kind of play in obscurity. And that's kind of crazy to think about the team right now that's probably the favorites in the East to win the championship, have the best record in the East, and they don't get any love in the city. And they really won't get much until, like, if they get to the Eastern Conference Finals. Like last year, KD had a size smaller shoe, hits that three-pointer, knocks out the Bucks. Then that's when you would start seeing the spikes and all the entertainment hit to the Barclays. But it's really a Knick town. And again, like I said, the Nets, you know, they do a great job, but they have to try to find something to kind of bring in that New York viewership because it's lacking right now.
I can totally agree because I think that's in the event, say Brooklyn wins the championship. I have a feeling their parade is going to be much smaller than if the Knicks won the championship. You know what I'm saying?
Knicks win the championship, man. People just like, you know what, take me now, Lord. I've seen it all. The Nets, you know, Janelle, I know you have some Brooklyn ties. The Nets will probably do something right on like, you know, right by Junior's Cheesecake. I mean, they really don't. Again, people can say what they want. I'm sure they got a little fan base now because they got some star power, but it's a tough existence. And again, I used to sell advertising for the Nets in my previous advertising life. And the Barclays is a fantastic arena. They do a great job. If you have good enough seats, you can get prime rib and shrimp and everything you want.
Ooh.
But again, like I said, they have a problem selling out that place, and they got 2 of the top 5 players in the league. That says a lot about the New York fan base when it comes to basketball in the city.
Well,
True.
you know what? I will say this, right? I will say this about New York. Even though the Knicks haven't won a fly in a while, right? They're still the most valued team in 2021 at $5 billion.
Mhm.
Right after them is the Warriors, the Lakers. And what's interesting for me, below that at 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, we got the Bulls at 4th, the Celtics at the 5th spot, the Clippers. The Clippers get the most hate. They're at the number 6 most valuable team. And at 7 is the Brooklyn Nets. So in the top 10, we got 2 New York teams, and we got a couple, quite a few LA teams. So it's like California teams, but I feel like California is trying to battle for that mecca spot. So let's see what happens in the next couple of years. But, it's going to be interesting to see because, Brooklyn is down in New York, but Cali, they got Clippers, Lakers, and the Warriors. So
see what the common denominator you mentioned there, Janelle, is all those teams are in big markets. The reason why you hear the Clippers because they got Steve Ballmer money. I mean, Steve Ballmer again prints his own money probably, and they're building that brand new arena. So again, just when you add all the dollars and what they can do, the Lakers, it's crazy to sound, Lakers are a mom and pop operation. As much as that might sound laughable to some folks, they're a family-owned business. That's not really the case when you think about pro sports in this country at this point, especially with country, New York, U.S. and Canada. It's corporations or ownership groups. But the Lakers are owned by a family-owned business, so it's a little bit of a situation where like they necessarily can't do the same things that Steve Ballmer can. They own L.A. It's their city. I mean, we're unequivocally Lakers. I don't even know. So the Clippers are just an afterthought, but the money that Ballmer can bring in the assets is the reason why that's probably a higher level than the Lakers, which is kind of weird. And everybody else is, again, you take the Knicks, New York City. It's not because we won much. And you mentioned, I think you said number 2 was Golden State.
So 2 was the Warriors, and then 4th was the Bulls, and Boston was 5th. Yeah.
Right. Silicon Valley was and to me one of the best run organizations in the NBA. I think second to your Raptors. I think Golden State's right there, and Toronto's a close second. Just like properly run. I guess you would say the Spurs would be 3. They're kind of taking a little tap because it's just, their time has passed. But all those other markets are big markets. And that's why, the NBA is a better league when the big markets are winning because it brings more eyeballs, it brings more advertising dollars, and it brings more conversation because in the rooms that we met, people despise the Knicks. So I guess it's a good thing when they have some chance to talk about them when they're winning some basketball games.
Right. Yeah, well, they're the most valued, so they can hit all they want. Numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie. All right, y'all. So let's go into a hot topic. Faheem, let's go.
All right. So, Kevin, you're right up your wheelhouse. Your love is football. And I guess definitely. We'll be able to get into that a little bit later. We're about, 4 or 5 weeks into playoff season about to start for the NFL.
Yeah.
Me, myself, I used to be very heavily falling into the NFL. After what happened with the owners situation with Cap, I kind of fell back a bit. And now I just kind of demoted myself to just a casual NFL football fan where I check highlights. I just kind of have a pulse for what's going on, but I'm not really in, which is going to make it good because you are knee deep in and Janelle is knee deep in. So since you guys are both in, that's what have you throw some questions out and just get a feel for some predictions what you got for this season so far.
Well, first and foremost, Raheem, I want to commend you for that because when those things hit, it made me think. And somebody who used to play football and been in some rooms and have had some conversations with folks, again, I wasn't surprised, but yet, it's a situation where what's more important? I mean, I think with all sports, we've seen it with the NBA with Donald Sterling and with other owners, things have come out, the John Grudens. We just have to realize, and what I try to do is it's a sport. And what do those athletes do when they have that revenue, that light, that financial responsibility? They bring it back almost like a Robin Hood thing. So I try to put my own spin with the NFL, because I know a lot of guys are doing some great things, and it's changed. It's probably one of the sports in the NFL, particularly, is one of the greatest resources for African American or just African people when it's turning generational wealth. So again, from that standpoint, it's a little bit easier to chew, but we know what the deal is. I mean, if you work in a corporate environment, you probably don't. Everybody's probably not going to love you for who you are, and that's just sad. But getting back to the field, I think it's been a really interesting season. When you think about, let's start with New England. I'm a Jet fan, which is, I don't even believe I said that out loud. But again, when I see the Patriots and what they've done, and no love there, but what they've done with a rookie quarterback and cutting Cam in the preseason, and really, Belichick showing why he's the greatest in the game. The Ravens, a team that I picked to go to Super Bowl. I think, Lamar Jackson's exceptional. He had a rough game the other night, threw a bunch of interceptions. But nevertheless, I think they're still the class of the AFC. And then, the team that I think a lot of folks are not ready to put dirt on. They were close as the Chiefs. The Chiefs are a team with Pat Mahomes. They've had their struggles. And I think the AFC West and the rest of the AFC really had a chance to jump on them and kind of put them in the rear view. They've kind of, recaptured their swagger and got to 7-4, and right now are ahead of the AFC West. And probably the surprise of the league for me in the AFC is the Cincinnati Bengals. What the LSU connection of Burrow and Chase is doing, really taking that program, talking about the Jets being bad. This has been a horrible program for years. The Cincinnati Bengals don't even have an indoor practice facility. That's how bad they are. But they've right the course, and they could be a very scary team and not ready to compete for a championship, but they can be very scary and can win a game in the playoffs.
That's interesting for the AFC, because everything you said, I agree. I feel like the most competitive division, though, is the AFC West, like you mentioned, because even though the Chiefs are up by 1 win, it's now grind time, right? I don't think they can afford to lose any more games. And if they do, hopefully the Raiders, Chargers, and Broncos, because right now they're all tied at 6-5. All 3 of those teams. So,
and I think what you said to those teams, Janelle, I mean, I just don't have any faith in the Chargers. The Chargers are this team every year. They say, well, you know what? They got all this talent, Justin Herbert, and they got this and they got that, and they still just never turn up. The Raiders must be something in the water in Las Vegas, because all these guys are just wilding out. And I was just out there for NBA Summer League in August, and I don't think it's 110 degrees anymore, but it just seems the Raiders are a car wreck right now. And Denver, Denver is a weird team, because they kind of gave up on a couple of players, traded Von Miller. They're playing with Bridgewater and the Maj Potter quarterbacks, and they're hanging in there, But I just can't see any of those teams. You don't need a game out. I really can't see those teams competing with Kansas City. I think the Chiefs, while they're not the high-powered Chiefs they once were, still have too much right now, and will probably still win that division. And, we'll see what happens in the playoffs. But I just don't trust those other 3 teams to make any type of noise, even being a game out.
Well, it's going to be interesting, because the remaining schedule for the Chiefs, they got the Broncos on deck. They got the Raiders. Then they're at the Chargers, the Steelers, at the Bengals, and Broncos again. That's what I was saying. So if they don't win, if the Broncos somehow, because the Broncos, I'm a Broncos fan, and we've been getting a lot of lucky wins. Like, just the most, I'm like, oh, we want, like they beat the Cowboys.
Like the Tebow season.
Yo, they beat the Cowboys. And I was like, oh, we got that win? Okay. Like the Broncos just find these ways to win and beat good teams. That's why I feel like against the Broncos, I want to see how they pan up, because the Broncos are that team that can sneak and disrupt everyone's plans, like everyone's plan. But I agree with the Chargers is suspect. Raiders, they have a lot of stress coming out, but I think the Raiders' remaining schedule isn't as much as the Chiefs. So we'll see. We'll see if they can close it out. They had a week off, so yeah. Yep. How about your thoughts on the NFC? The NFC division.
The NFC is, when I break these, the two divisions down, or the 2 conferences down, the NFC is a much more interesting conference. Obviously, you have Arizona at the top. Again, another team that has great talent. People love Kyler Murray, but again, that's a program that I have to see get it done. I understand they're good. But they have a quarterback who, to me, is a little light in the tail. He's transcending. I'm not sold on them. Green Bay right now is probably the class of the NFC, even though you got COVID toe Rodgers out there talking about his foot. But they're also a situation because they haven't closed in the playoffs as well. So you got to keep and they've lost playoff games at home, a la last year to Tom Brady. Tampa's sitting there as well. You can never say enough about those guys. I mean, again, in the playoffs, would you take Tom Brady? Would you take anybody over Tom Brady? You're probably not. But the two teams I want to highlight that I believe are very dangerous. One is the San Francisco 49ers. They are getting their act together. Deebo Samuel is an absolute beast. Garoppolo is playing great football, and they got a superstar mind in their coach, Kyle Shanahan. They can be a dangerous team, and the Washington football team as well. Now, Washington, you're not going to be thrilled by their quarterback. We get that. They control the football. They play what I call four corners football, like the old four corners in basketball. Don't shoot and just let the clock run out. They control the clock, but they play great defense. And one thing in the NFL, and again, like I said, these coaches with all these, scientific game plans and living in their offices, 8 days a week, nothing gets by the NFL if you can rush the quarterback. And that's one thing Washington can do and do effectively. And as the trees start losing their leaves and it gets colder, defenses become more and more prevalent. You can run the ball. Your quarterback doesn't give it up. You can win some games. That's the formula the Patriots are using. I think the Washington football team is taking a page out that book. So right now they're the 7th seed. They still got some more work to do. But San Francisco and Washington are very dangerous, especially the 49ers. The 49ers can get to the Super Bowl.
What's crazy, right? Both those teams are on a 3-game winning streak, and they're getting hot
at the right
time. And teams that do this, we've always seen somehow get their way Super Bowl. You're like, how'd they get here? But they always get hot at the right time. I want to bring up a team that you didn't mention because this team did enough trades, did all this hoopla, and they're 7-4, the Rams. What's your thoughts on this Rams squad?
Well, you know what? The Rams play in Los Angeles, right? And we know with all the LA teams, you got to have star power. It's a push for that entertainment dollar. And while, yes, they have, Odell and, they brought in Von Miller and the whole bit, it just seems like it's fantasy football to me. Listen, I play football. I know a lot of times we were in basketball rooms. I played football. And the one thing about football is the ultimate team sport, okay? You do need talent to win in football, no question about it. But there's bigger than talent is chemistry. You can have great pieces, but if the pieces don't fit, then it's not going to work. Matthew Stafford, when you got an Odell, you gotta feed Odell. Odell's a pit bull, and when pit bulls don't eat, they start to bite. So you gotta feed that guy. And again, you're trying now to drive that in place. Von Miller, it's a reason why Denver got rid of him. It wasn't that he was completely, and you a Denver fan, so you know what I'm talking about. So it wasn't that he was like the 2015 Von Miller. So but the Rams have star power. They pushed their chips to the middle of the table and going all in. I think they've given too much they've given up draft picks, and so I just don't see it happening. I mean, they're a dangerous team. Don't get me wrong. I mean, at the 5 seed right now, they can easily play Dallas, beat Dallas, and then go on a run. But I don't see them. If they don't go to the Super Bowl, it was all for naught. I don't see them going to Super Bowl at this point in time in the season. If we had this conversation in a few weeks, maybe. I do not see them going to Super Bowl. So when you make those type of trades, you're trying to win Lombardi, and I don't know they're getting in.
I like the hot take. Well, y'all, you heard it from Kevin, yo. Faheem, any thoughts on what Kevin said? Are you signing off? Okay.
Everything you said, I checked. Like I back everything he says. I can co-sign that, except the one thing was Belichick. And I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I maybe have a question with that. Remember last year, Brady, he broke out without Belichick, and people kind of dashed Belichick to the wayside and said, oh, look, Tom Brady can do it without Belichick. Now Belichick's back this year and doing it without Brady. I guess my question is is that conversation, is it a closed conversation since last year it looked like people wrote off Belichick, or is this year they're ready to really reopen that conversation of if Belichick can get it done without Brady?
Well, Faheem, we live in a microwave, right? So if a coach has or a player has a bad game or a bad season or a bad few games, people want to throw him in the garbage. Oh, he's is no good. This man here is helped create Tom Brady. Now Tom Brady's a super talent. Took that whatever he felt, that energy and that inertia that they forgot about him in Michigan, and he was a late round draft pick. And he created himself into this great player, no question about it. But Bill Belichick is a genius. Going back to his days with the Giants, I mean, Bill Belichick created the Lawrence Taylor effect. Lawrence Taylor changed the game when now you had to pay left tackles millions of dollars because you couldn't block him with a running back. That was Bill Belichick. Fast forward to him at the Patriots. Again, this guy here, last year was COVID, a lot of opt-outs. While yes, a great coach can motivate and train and be strategize the players, you still need the horses on the field. So this year they made some changes, they made some upgrades. Their defense is solid. They took a risk by getting rid of Cam. They saw something, and again, that's not easy to do. That takes a great innovative football mind. He brings in this kid from Alabama. He's obviously good friends with Nick Saban. He used to be on his staff at the Cleveland Browns many years ago. He brings in a kid, they call it Mac Jones, mac and cheese, because he's kind of doughy. And again, while, he might be the check down king, they have a game plan in place, and that's all coaching. We're not going to give this kid too much to bite. We're going to spoon feed him, and every week he's gotten better. And I've been on record saying I'm not a big fan of Mac Jones because I thought all he did in Alabama was throw 9 routes. I could do that too, the track stars. But he has proven to be that, the right fit for the Patriots, the right mentality. And I think, again, they're a scary bunch. And I wouldn't have said that 2.5 months ago.
If they met in the playoffs, Bucks and Patriots, are you going with
Super Bowl? That's Super Bowl. If they meet in the playoffs.
So my bad.
AFC and NFC.
If they met in the Super Bowl, right there you go.
If they, even though they played this year, if they met in the Super Bowl, I'm going with Belichick.
Whoa!
Because
hot take.
Because again, I mean, if you would have asked Kevin Pryor this maybe 20 years ago, I might have said the player. But as I've gotten older, the game slows down for the great ones. And Brady's a great one. But the one thing about Brady you can pressure Brady. Brady's the blueprint on Tom is you put the pressure on him, you're going to have a problem. They got a kid named Judah and a couple other kids on the Patriots that can get to the quarterback. Tom is not light pressure, and at 45 years old, I wouldn't either. Mm-hmm. So, again, if you're going to ask me, even though they beat him earlier this year, if I got to play one game and I got 2 weeks to prepare like Super Bowl is, and if these two teams meet, I'm taking the old man with the hood on.
Well, I like that take, y'all.
I like it.
Seal it, delivered. So, so Faheem, let's go to the next segment.
All right. So, Nelly J, let's go to For the Culture.
For the culture, we like to highlight individuals that are for the culture. And today, we get to highlight Kevin Pryor. Now, Kevin, y'all, he's a talk show host, producer of 950 Lounge Show, which is nationally syndicated on iHeartRadio, Rough Riders Radio, Rewind Network, you name it, all right? He's a partner with Backstage Radio Network, as well as a co-founder of 9 Bridge Network that's doing some awesome things coming up, and the Bottom Line Sports Show coming in 2022. A public speaker and a proud New Yorker. Please, let's give it up for Kevin Pryor. Woo!
You read your bio. You did your homework. Wow.
Listen.
Did I do that? Yeah,
you did all of that. You did all of that. Okay. That's why we're highlighting you. So, Kevin, I find it so interesting that, you came into this creative space, right?
Yeah.
A speaker, and this entire ability to share and really compel people when you speak. Like when you talk, I'm like, I'm listening. It's a gift. It's a God-given gift. So I'm happy. So how did you know that was your, I guess, skill set? Did someone tell you? Did you just kind of grow up as a kid and say, you know what, I'm a good talker? Like, how'd you get into the space?
Well, you know what? That's a great question, Janelle. I think growing up, there was 2 things I wanted to be. I wanted to play football, and if I couldn't play football, I wanted to broadcast. And well before social media and stuff, I used to take a tape recorder and put the games on mute on my TV and actually record the games. As I got older and went into high school and college, I started writing columns. And I wrote a big column here in New York for minor professional sports called Cosell's Corner. It's kind of off on Howard Cosell. And I would kind of use, before you can be, found by cookies and stuff on social media, I would just do little comments and stuff, not always flattering, but entertaining nevertheless and thoughtful. And, nobody knew who it was. I just right under the alias pen. And I did that for a while. And worked in media as well on the advertising side, mostly on the marketing side with commercials and advertising. And about 6.5 years ago, my brother came to me. My brother's a stand-up comedian. And, I'm the person in my family, even though I'm the youngest, everybody comes to me for help. So he comes to me and says, hey, I'm trying to build my persona for stage. And I'm like, unbeknownst to me, I didn't want no parts of it. But I'm like, why don't you just do a show? I didn't want to be involved. But like, you do that. So he's like, I need some help. So I tried to help him out and, find co-hosts. But Black comics can be very annoying, including especially if they're my brother. So it could never find nobody to fit. So I worked with him on some things and started doing some shows. And to make a long story short, one day we came to the thought process. I'm like, wow, I'm enjoying this. I'm having a good time. And I said, you know what, for us to take this to the next level, I got to take this thing over. He said, I've been waiting for you to say that. So I started then bringing in a couple other friends of mine. One that works in the New York City hospital system, but he runs the IT division. So I said, because I'm not good at the techie stuff, I got to bring somebody to run that. So then it was us three. Then I brought another friend of mine who was kind of like the Mr. Playboy, he loved to run the clubs in New York. I had to bring him in. Then we brought another female in, and we brought this collection of people that we all had chemistry. We're all friends, people I knew, family or were like family. And we did this show called 950 Lounge. And we just had fun with it. We were trying to get bigger guests. And in 2018, we had this unknown politician, and even you guys would know who this person is in Canada, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, AOC for short. Mm-hmm. And she came on our show. She was running for office, very unknown politician. And she had a camera with her, had a camera crew. I'm like, what's this? I'm like, well, hey, by all means, we're in media. The more cameras, the better. Yeah. 8 months later, we do a great interview with her. 8 months later, somebody calls me and says, yo, I see you on Netflix. I'm like, what are you talking about? I thought it was a joke. And I went on my Netflix, and then the producers called me and said, oh, yeah, I forgot to reach out to you. We used your interview. And they use us over like the interviews like Charlemagne the God, The Breakfast Club, and other bigger, New York personalities. They used us. And that really kind of took us off into a whole nother stratosphere. We had just got iHeart before that, but that actually helped our viewership. And we're not a political show by any stretch of the imagination, but we were able to start to acquire politicians who wanted to come on the show just because they wanted to be normal. Okay, you go on 950 to say, hey, you know what, I'm a human being like you. I like rap music, or, I'm a sports fan. And it really worked. And so we've had everyone from AOC to Heather Hunter to Michael Bivins, the list goes on. And it's, now we're at a level where we come on every morning throughout the States and also in Canada. We're getting ready to launch a new streaming TV network that's obviously the people I'm with today, I'm happy to say will eventually be a part of that. And, obviously continue to grow the brand bigger than just 950, but bringing that audience, that 27 to 54 professional audience that's, while yes, we have a lot of ratchet out here, and we all have that, I guess, a little bit, but how much can you digest? You can't just eat cake with just frosting on it. There's got to be some cake, or you're going to get sick and get cavities and lose your teeth. And I think as a society, we're going toothless. So I think what we're looking to do with our content is like, yeah, we're going to have some fun. We're going to also add some intelligence, some conversation, things that the whole family can watch, different programming, and really have something to say, you know what? Yeah, I'm a certain age, but I still enjoy watching some media once in a while that's not all the same, or, we're not giving the culture a black eye by doing things that necessarily doesn't represent everybody around the world.
Well, that's interesting because, you talked about your brother kind of encouraging you to jump, to take the leap. Mm-hmm. Were there ever any doubts? Were there any fear? Did you ever be like, Kevin, like the time, I have a job, like, can I even handle this? Like, what was that like? And how did you overcome those doubts or fears?
In the beginning, it was more about if I say something on Saturday, would it come back to bite me in the tail on Monday? So I really wouldn't promote the show. We had some other people in the early days that necessarily wasn't so, they were good dudes, but they just, they would speak off the cuff, put it that way. So again, you know, you are the company you keep. So that was a problem. And then certain days, you know, it was certain days I'm like, well, you know, this ain't going nowhere. Why am I wasting my time? Before 950, I was coaching youth football, and that I had a lot of appreciation and joy with that. So I couldn't do that much. So I was kind of like in the in-between stage, like, what should I do here? But I, you know, again, because I was hanging out with my brother, the show actually, we were close, but it brought us closer. Then, you know, Backstage, one of the guys on the show, he's somebody I've known all my life. We worked together as kids in Sears and Roebuck many years ago. He was on the show. Then the other co-host, Just the Classic Man, he's like a little brother. So because we were just doing a show and having fun, we would have been hanging out anyway. So we were just talking on a microphone. So once, you know, I started to say, you know what, screw what people think on a weekday. I'm just going to go ahead and do this thing. I started reaching back into the bag of marketing and people I knew, and, you know, kind of being more aggressive, being more innovative, because I realized that, you know what, I think we have something here. And then sometimes it's very hard to be objective with yourself, you know, and I take pride to be able to look in the mirror and say, no, something's not right. This doesn't look good. Let me fix it. And I'm my own worst critic. We still haven't done the best show because there's always room to get better. And I don't know if that's a healthy thought process, but this is just who I am. So to answer your question in a very long-winded sentence is that, yeah, you have your moments, but, you know, that's the time you have to really just, you know, dig a little deeper and realize what you're doing before anything else is just you enjoying it. And once you enjoy something, you can profit from it. And once you profit from it, you can then start to invest and then change the game.
No, that's amazing, because everything you said, no, it was not a long-winded response, but it's important because I think, no, but that's okay. We love that, because I think sometimes people need to dig a bit deeper, right? When you're in a moment, or you're that like, okay, do I take this leap of a new stage, or do I stay with what I know? And I feel like everyone we've had on the show who has changed trajectory of their career is because that moment of leap of faith, like, I know I can do it, but I don't know if people are going to judge me. Like, that's true. Even for us, like when I started podcasting, I'm like, yo, I'm a woman talking sports. Sometimes I forget names. I forget dates. Like, my memory sucks, but I know what I'm talking about. But you doubt that people won't like you. You doubt that. And that's human. And I feel like if we talk about that, someone else will be like, you know what? I had those same doubts, so maybe I can do it. I think it's important for us to talk about how we got there, and not only that we got there. You know what I mean? Because I think both is important for that lesson, if that makes sense.
And you got to embrace the journey. Like, you know, I tell people all the time, and some folks embrace it and some folks hate it. But you don't do this to get rich, right? Like, I know people who they'll say, yo, Kev, I want to do a show. And like, okay, great, let's just do the show. And they do it for like maybe 2 months. And they think after like 2 episodes, they're going to be Stephen A. and Max Kellerman. And that's not the case. It doesn't happen that way. It's a process. And again, with all the media out here, when you think about, you know, terrestrial and podcasting and all the apps, and people are constantly talking all over the place. People are putting things out all over the place. What makes you different? What makes you unique? You got to ask yourself that question. So at the end of the day, all you can be is yourself. All Faheem and Janelle can be is who they are, because there's only one original of you guys. So if you like it, somebody else will. You know, like I tell people all the time, you can't be a 45-year-old man talking to 18-year-old kids. Now, again, the 18-year-old can listen, but you're not their audience. So if you're talking like, you know, talking like they're talking and wearing your clothes like they're wearing and trying to reinvent yourself to something you're not, you're going to have lack of credibility, because, again, they're not going to respect it. Remember, when we were 18, we want to rock with somebody 45? No. So why would they want to do that? So you have to know your audience. And knowing your audience, first and foremost, is knowing yourself. If you know who you are and you're talking to yourself like you do in the mirror, well, you know what? If it sounds good to you, chances are it might sound good to somebody else. And again, if it's put out to enough people, it'll start the snowball.
Well, I love
So
that.
that's a jewel right there that you just dropped. So we, Nelly J and I, we can totally relate to when you're speaking about the best team in radio, in which you guys are.
Yeah.
We can relate to just when you're saying about you having something that's organic. Like there's nothing forced. Everyone was placed in naturally. We can relate because, our chemistry and what we have with our podcast, it is organic. It's not something that we plan or whatever. It's just something that we just do and something that we are, right?
Yeah.
You did mention earlier when you're saying about football, you felt football was the most, in regards to a team, what you're saying earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So you played football, professional football, in the CFL for the Toronto Argonauts.
Coffee in Toronto, yeah.
Toronto
that's right.
Argonauts.
Maybe even some cappuccino, very little cup.
Oh,
and then obviously that didn't work out, and I had an opportunity to go play Team USA in Germany, club football, but I didn't make the trek. I didn't do it because I'm like, I needed a day job, and and had 2 knee surgeries by that time. Like, maybe it's just time. This is not happening. I had a chance to try out for the original XFL, but I don't know why. I just because I had nothing else to do, so let me just do it. A former football coach of mine was like, you speak well, you got a good smile, and he helped me get in some commercials. I did a couple commercials with Shannon Sharp and Jason Sehorn years ago. It's a Charles Schwab commercials, probably somewhere on YouTube.
Google it. Everybody, go ahead.
And I got a small role, and I remember wiping my head on purpose so people I could say, "That's me." And through that commercial, there was a guy who produced that commercial that actually at the time was one of the production guys on Oz. So I read for Oz, and I knew acting wasn't for me because they wanted me to do a compromising scene, and I was like, no, I can't do this. But it was Oz, so I was like, well, listen, you ain't the star, so you got to go, and you got to go violently. So I didn't do that. I read for Law and Order. So I had some, after the football thing, I had some things to kind of fill the hole. And like I mentioned earlier, then I got into coaching youth football, which was very rewarding. I had a couple of kids that played college ball. One that played for Maryland and then got drafted. He actually was a free agent with the Giants and then went to Washington and then Indianapolis. And another kid that played at South Carolina State. So, and it wasn't about, those kids going to that level. It was about helping them stay off the street, staying positive and having a positive role model. I mean, I still get calls now from some of them kids I coach. They have their own kids and they call and wish me happy Father's Day or, coach, if it wasn't for you. I remember there was times I would just take my own money and take a couple of kids shopping for food. I remember one kid coming again, like, why are you always sluggish, man? He's like, Coach, I haven't eaten. And that was just a real thing. So, those type of things. So really getting into the media thing with 950, it wasn't, in the beginning it was helping my brother, but it really wasn't a thing I wanted to do. I was working in media. So it was like, I don't want to do radio. And at that time, you started to see the transition from terrestrial radio to more streaming and podcasting. And you started to see the evolution. It wasn't there like it is now, but you started to see the tea leaves. So I'm like, I don't want to do this. But then after I started, doing it and obviously recapturing my youth when I had that tape recorder, it became fun. And then, like I said, with the people you work with, it's organic, like similar to how you guys rock together. It's deeper than just the talk show. You guys have a connection. And that's what the show, has been about. And I take pride when people come and say, wow, this is really cool. It's organic. It's you made me feel comfortable. And when everybody's saying that, then it's not just me. And again, if we had to change some things, we would. We've changed the show a couple of times. We've had to make some switches, and that's just being smart business people. But nevertheless, you got to enjoy what you're doing. I love what I do. I look forward to our recordings every Saturday.
Oh,
so as they say, like as one door closes, another one opens.
Yeah.
And everything does happen for a reason. So with your football, there's nothing to look back at and regret anything, because that is nothing more than laid a foundation for you in business. And maybe that's my question now on the way out of for this culture segment is you being having football is your base and transitioning into business. Is there anything that you could speak in football that you've taken into your leadership role in regards to business?
That's a great question, Faheem. And I think, again, it's the team aspect. Most of the times in life, we're riding our own ships, right? We drive our own cars, like, okay, you got to get yourself up, you got to do different things. But when it comes to business, you don't know everything. You think you do. There's a lot of people who try to, one-arm bandit stuff, but smart people get with people that can help them. Like I mentioned about bringing in my one of my friends, Ed, Backstage Ed. I didn't know how to run cameras or edit. Yeah, I can do the marketing and bring in the guests and stuff, but that's just great conversation in a barbershop without a camera. Nobody's going to see it. So I had to get Ed, and then I had to help him make this thing that me and my brother started, to make him empowered to feel, what, this is me too. I think it's also important when you have a team concept that you make everybody like, yo, this is your house too. So, if we're going to live here together, you open the fridge, you do how you want to roll. It's just, put your feet up on the coffee table, you're home too. And I think that's what we've done, where, like, I'm sure if I don't bring a suggestion to him, or Just the Classic Man, or Steph Pearl, mentioning all the characters, they could have lived and done other things and not cared about it. But when you bring some of the people that you rock with and they go, look, this is what I'm doing, I love to have you a part of it. And obviously I look at it as respect and respect with me, and to say, hey, what, if Kevin's doing it, let's join him, because, even when I coach football, I brought Ed in. When I played some football, I brought Ed in. So it's like we've always had this situation where, whether we did, like, yo, why don't you do this? I'm doing that. And this was no different. And now it's become part of their brand. And we share this 950 journey together, and this 9 Bridge journey together. And it's a fun experience. And like I said, it's I wouldn't change anything to answer your question, Faheem. You were right. This journey that we ride, nothing's by chance. Even how I met you guys, and everything has a cap to it. And sometimes we don't see it right away, but if you stick around long enough, the picture gets clearer.
Love it. Well, y'all, we're gonna have all of Kevin's information to show, the links. I mean it all. So you can continue to follow him, follow his journey. Shout out to your brother. I hope he does get he breaks big in comedy segment.
Oh,
I think
Lord, if
what's
he
funny
do,
is,
man,
yeah, and also, like, I think I'm kind of funny too. So hopefully we can do a little tit for tat. We'll see.
We can definitely do that. Listen,
I think I'm funny. I think I'm funny
anyway.
But no, thank you so much, Kevin. Yo, been awesome. So that's why you're for the culture. So,
No
Faheem, let's go to our last segment.
All right, so let's go to That's Absurd.
That's absurd. Faheem, bro, what was absurd this week? What was absurd?
WNBA star Elizabeth Cambage. She's just announced that she's opening a OnlyFans.
Oh, hold up.
Absurd.
Hold on. She's opening up an OnlyFans account?
Yes.
I'm okay. First of all, is it really absurd? Because a lot of rap, like Cardi B has one, B Simone, I think, a lot of these, a lot of artists have a OnlyFans page. So I feel like seeing a woman athlete having one, I'm like, that's probably the next level, because for these women, they don't really get paid the best. So if they can make double their salary with these super fans who are obsessed with them, why not milk the cow? That's just me though. I mean, I ain't not gonna hustle. I think it's pretty smart, to be honest. Your thoughts, Kevin?
I don't want to get in trouble here.
No, it's okay. It's your thoughts.
No, this podcast goes a lot of places. But no, listen, I agree with you on the money aspect. I ain't knocking anybody's hustle, but there is, to me, in just my opinion, an integrity to being a pro athlete. I think, again, while you can entertain us, they don't have unions. They're in different spaces. Athletics is a little bit different. I mean, again, I think she has also a deal. I believe she's with Nike, I think. So she has a sneaker deal. How is that play with some of those sponsors? Number two, again, the women's movement. I was talking to a colleague of mine today that does women's football, and I made the mistake of saying, the lingerie league, and she nearly bit my head off. So I'm like, I just didn't know. I know there's women football, but I didn't know what league you was talking about. So when I go back to here with the WNBA athlete, and now you're saying, okay, I'm doing OnlyFans, even though she is a very beautiful woman. How will women feel about that? You know, I mean, it's a lot of things. While, yeah, you know, I ain't knocking nobody's hustle, but all money's not good money.
I agree. I mean, OnlyFans is crazy because OnlyFans, I think, is trying to get away recently from its like Pornhub status. You know, they've actually, I think, stopped or banned certain sexual, because I think OnlyFans do want to become.
They reverted though. They reverted
right,
because they were going to lose so much money.
So they did go. Oh, okay.
The genie's out the bottle. They can't. Nothing they can do about it. And
at this point, and also like, you know, during the pandemic, it did help a lot of people that are in the adult field to
a lot
get
of people
money.
Who were just not by themselves too. I'm sure got helped as well.
Yeah. But it's one thing, right? But the OnlyFans pages aren't just like sexual. I think that's what it got popular for. But a lot of times it's like one girl, I don't know her, but I heard of a girl who has made a lot of money from just having her feet, pictures of her feet.
Right.
She posts her toes every or once a day, and men pay money, or women pay money to see her feet. So not every OnlyFans page is sexual, but that's reputation. So I can see why you said with the sponsors for that. I can see sponsors obviously being involved in it, but I'm assuming she probably checked with them first, saying, hey, it's probably used. And from what I'm seeing, well, I haven't seen it yet, but from what I'm seeing from the pictures, it's mostly just her posing around basketballs and just more like, not like her being naked. It's more like, you know, just like
more artistic.
Yeah. To me, right? Yeah. If you're, listen, I see enough girls post enough things on Instagram for free and getting paid no money.
But so did she have to go to OnlyFans for that? She could have did that. She has enough of a brand. She could create her own site. All I'm saying is, again, you're right. You're right, Janelle, with the situation of you know, people use OnlyFans and it wasn't created for that. But again, I'm in advertising correlation. First thing you hear OnlyFans, what you think?
It's true.
No,
that ass.
That's true.
And I know a lot of young ladies who do it, and I don't knock the hustle, make your money, you know. But again, like I said, I look at athletes a little different. Maybe that's just me because I'm somebody who played them a certain age. But I just don't think, you know, and again, I'm a man, so I can't say how women would feel, but I don't know. I mean, you know, I'll probably buy it.
To be honest, like I'm probably the least judgmental person. That's why I don't like even the lingerie league, like even that league, you know, those women make more money than other athletes. So I can see why. But at the end of the day, it's a product and things have to sell. Things have to make money, right? So I get that aspect as well. I think sometimes with women, we like to judge other women's decisions and choices and what they look like. I ain't got time for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
no doubt.
at the end of the day, like for the women's movement, I think it's empowerment because guess what? There are men making money off of women lingerie anyway. So why not make money for yourself in lingerie? That's what I think about it. It's like you're now taking the sexual side of you and making money for yourself.
You're empowering yourself, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So let's say like there's two sides of the coin, but my question is, do you think this will cause a trend? Are we going to see other WNBA athletes follow suit or other female athletes follow suit?
Oh yeah, I think so. Again, if you know, I mean, if she got clearance from, you know, she's a union athlete. You know, you think about these pro athletes, they are union employees. If all systems are clear, and you already mentioned, we know they don't make a lot of money. I can't see why they would not, use this portal if they can make some profit, and obviously they can even bring in sponsors into that, and they can promote different brands. I mean, so this could be a huge trend. So yeah, where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm sure she won't be the last.
You both bring up some amazing points. I agree with both of you. As you're speaking, I'm like, I agree. Everything checks off. Kevin, you really spoke about it, the optics of what it is. Right. When I heard about it, and I think OnlyFans is like, one thing comes to mind when I think of that, kind of the extreme. Right. And I think, so her being a professional athlete, the WNBA also right now is trying to gain credibility as the league, right? And we all know that the WNBA players, they're not earning enough money to just be WNBA players. They have to go overseas and play. They have to find some kind of way to supplement that income, right? So when I started with That's Absurd, I feel like it was obviously a great topic for us to talk about. Let's do it. But you're right. Maybe it's not so absurd if people have to, for instance, go and do other things with the league. we can't knock her hustle of how she decides she wants to get her money, her business, right?
Yeah.
Not to get in her pockets, but I just Googled her what she makes. So apparently she's not. You did? Okay.
I'm like, she's making some.
So it's a decent amount, you know. It's a few $100,000. Okay.
I think 221,000 to be
so I guess my question on the way out of this is, I'll start with, I think she can exceed if she continues on with this. I'm hearing some astronomical numbers of people on OnlyFans.
Yeah,
I have a feeling she might be able to exceed her contract with just OnlyFans. What do you guys think?
without question.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. And guess what? Like, if the WNBA has an issue with it, give me the money. You know what I'm saying? You got a problem? Pay her more. If you gotta pay her more, hush on them out, right?
Right.
I went to her page. I mean, it says subscribe for free. I don't want to put my Google in that realm. It's just for me. So sorry, but I do see like her captions. I think she's wearing like a Fenty. I'm promoting her page, but she wearing like a Fenty Savage, like, you know, the Rihanna had their Savage set. So she's wearing some lingerie in a picture. Harris can kiss my behind because people were hating on her for starting her page. Welcome to the party, XX. So it seems like, you know, she's really embracing her power. And listen, why not make money off of your likeness? You're right. And who knows, Kevin, she might start her own. Like, I know B. Simone had OnlyFans, but she moved to her own. Like, I think her friends list where people pay money now to be her VIP friend.
Right.
All that can be explored. But I honestly, for me, Liz is single. She ain't got no one to answer to. So, girl, go on. And I think Drake was saying that if we get a WNBA team, he'd want to sign Liz.
Because again, Drake gets the marketing aspect of it. And again, this woman here, she's Australian, so she's already a global type athlete. So and 6'8". She's a female, beautiful.
Yeah.
Right.
Girl, go on the thing. If I was younger, y'all, I ain't gonna lie. When I was in university and I was broke, I'm telling you, that might have been an option. I'm just saying that, hey, brothers, y'all could have seen your sister on OnlyFans. Only because they're making so much money. I'll leave it out. I'll leave it right there.
Yeah.
I'll leave it right there.
All right. Let's put this episode in the books.
Ooh, y'all, that was episode 68.
68.
Yeah. So, Kevin, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Oh, thank you, guys. It's been fun.
So we love to give our guests a chance to do a shout out. So the floor is yours.
Well, what I would say, this LeBron James, the radio game, he's the most electrifying man in media today, and you catch the best team in radio, 9 Fee Lounge, every weekday morning, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern. Multiple platforms. Go to our website, www.9feelounge.com, and check me out on Instagram at 950kev.
Awesome. I love it. Love it. Love it. My shout out is pretty simple. It's to Kevin Pryor. Period. Done. Right? I'm saying, like, Kevin, thank you. Shout out to your show, 950 Lounge. Y'all better check it out. Very good show. Very entertaining. So we look forward to doing more with you, more with the family. I did mention it, but a little bit, but a lot to explore with you guys in 2022. And I can't be more ecstatic and happy. It's always, I mean, what I do for my own show is gratifying, but what I can help other brands and bring them into the fold and really all grow together, that to me is even more rewarding because it's bigger than just me. Absolutely. And that's nice. And it's bigger than us too, right? So we're so happy. My other shout out is to the Good Rookies sponsoring, guys. Again, for the second year in a row, we're sponsoring an amazing initiative, the Holiday Gift Drive, where we actually are asking everyone to donate from like essential items. So I mean like gloves, hats, deodorant, everything. And we hand out these amazing gifts to the homeless shelters downtown Toronto. Women, there's children there, and there's men. So we've put all the information on our website, on our Instagram page and socials. Please check it out, support. We'll also have the link as well. So you can click on the Amazon link. It'll be shipped right to Vanessa, who is the leader of the drive. And that way it will ship to her house and we'll just get a package. But we're sponsoring it for him. So I'm happy to really give back to the community that we all kind of love in Toronto and be a part of a great initiative for the holidays. So y'all check out the Holiday Gift Drive. So I'm going to pass the mic to Faheem.
Nice. So my shout out is quick. Kevin, pleasure having you here. Pleasure even meeting you. And, you know, it's great to actually, kind of pick your brain a bit about,
Mhm.
your past and, a lot of things in store for the future. So we're excited for that.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. And I guess we'll keep it at that. So Nelly J, let's put this episode in the books.
That was episode 68. If you had a good time, if you enjoyed yourself, please click on that like, subscribe, and tell a friend to tell a friend. Faheem.
Don't forget to check out 950 Lounge, the best team in radio.
Ooh, ooh.
That's right.
I
Good
agree.
Rookies
I concur.
All right. And Good Rookies run all platforms. So if you're looking for us, if you need us, we're there for you. That's Good Rookies Podcast, episode 68. And we out. Peace.
Peace.
God bless.
Yay.